Welcome back to the channel. This is Wasabi. This is a game on the Pilsen map, and we've got Tsar Kamago from King's Clan in his 705, which is the Soviet heavy tank in Tier 9. This is a new line, or recently introduced, leads to the 705A. He's platooned with Down Under from Lemon Clan, who's in his A51, which is a reward tank from the expedition campaign, which is Frontlines and Steel Hunter, which you can earn tokens for to swap them for these tanks. Anyway, Tsar is got two MOEs on this tank, and we're going to see how well he handles his tank and what he can do with it. So this is the Pilsen map, which basically has two components on it, which is the heavy line here, which is basically the factory area, and then there's a area on the 7, 8, 9 and 0 lines, which is mainly dominated by light tanks and mediums and tank destroyers. So he's got a VK 100 P in front of him, and the weak spot there is that big projection, the commander's hatch, and he's managed to basically put a APCR round through it. Now the gun on the 705, if you're not familiar with it, is 130mm. Let's have a look at the characteristics of the shell he's using. So he's using the premium round here, trying to get his third mark of excellence, and it's got average damage of 490, which saw a good high roll there, and the average pen is 303. So most likely to go through most tier 10s and tier 9s. So he's top tier in this game, which is going to give him a good advantage. Anyway, he's moving through the factory area and just looking for tanks that are exposing themselves and leading themselves to damage. So here we go with a 257. Just didn't hear the result of that, but there's an I6 next to him, which is tier 8, one of the old school premium tanks, which doesn't do well in terms of penetration. So we'll see what happens there. Now he's bounced around off the I6 already. He's just really exposing the side of his tank there, and he's put a hit into the 257. That requires a bit of accuracy, and the dispersion on this gun is a little bit higher than most. Don't have the exact stat on that at the moment, but we'll check that out. Now the IS-3 just moved in front of him, and he's lucky that there's no team damage in this, so he would have taken a 500 hit point hit onto his tank. There's no team damage in this release, and it's brought in a couple of releases earlier. So he's just trying to line up the weak spot just under the turret there. He puts another round into the 257, which has taken him down basically to one hit. So I'm a bit surprised that 257 is still sitting there. He hasn't managed to pen Tsar at all, and in fact there he goes, destroyed. So Tsar's got a decision here. Is it safe enough to push up to the next line? He's again a top tier tank, and he's got still full health. So we'll just see how he progresses here. So he's just taking it cautiously there. He's got that tier 8 I6 in front of him, which he's not too worried about getting penned at this moment. There's a T103, which is another tier 8 tank, and there's that VK 100.01p, which he was facing before. Now this FV402, just unfortunately for him, poked out while two tanks were facing him. He's lost a fair amount of his health, so he won't hopefully make that mistake again. Another round bounced off from the I6, so it's giving, he's already got a total of 2,380 damage done and 790 blocked. The mission he's on is HT9, which requires ramming a tank to death and winning the battle and surviving. Not sure if that's likely. It's not a high-speed tank, and he's basically on flat ground, so I don't think he's going to get too many opportunities to ram anyone to death. But anyway, we'll see how he progresses in this one. So it's basically moved around to try and change the angles. That's what you need to do if you're not really getting any results from the position you're in. You really need to relocate, and this is what good players do. Tsar is obviously a good player, particularly in this tank. So he's got that 103 there, tier 9, and he's just waiting to get basically into a position where you can shoot him, and he's just timed his shot there so that as that 103 was going backwards and forwards, you don't want to follow him with your gun. You want to basically hold your gun in a spot where you know the tank is going to get hit, and just wait for him to appear in that spot and just time it so that that tank basically is exposed for enough time for your shell to travel there. Now you can see his shell velocity there on the reticle is just over at 1100 meters per second, which gives him pretty fast travel anyway, so it wouldn't take long for the shell to get there. So again, you've got to take these things into account. And I6 is just ducked out of the way, probably good for him. The 103's managed to put a shot into him, and let's just see if we can see where that went. Onto his tank, and what can we see? There's a big hole in the front of his upper plate, so which is interesting. Unless he's it was a standard AP round, so it's interesting. We'll have a look at that. But anyway, he puts the killing shot into the T103, and you can see there the VK in the background, basically seeing how exposed he is. We'll just go back into Tsar's perspective, and we've now got 3 tanks facing him. Basically, the I6, the 101. Now just note the I6 is basically wised up and decided he'd better use premium rounds or he's not going to get any damage here. So he's put in a heat round into, or an APCR round I should say, into Tsar. So he's starting to lose a bit of health or leak some hit points, but he's just basically looking for opportunities, just trying to bait them into firing so that he can put a hit in, and there's the I6 is just again taking a big round and put the return one into Tsar's track, so no real problem there. And that VK I think is going to have a pretty short lifespan. If Tsar can come around, he's trying to look for a killing shot here, and basically puts that in. Does get one in return, but not a big alpha shot. Now this the I6 has come around again and found Tsar in a compromised position, which is a bit unfortunate. So Tsar is now backing out and coming forward to push on that I6 and basically taking him out of the game. So it's a pretty close battle at this point. They're actually 1 tank down on Tsar's side. I6 is playing pretty smart and using a dead tank as cover, but it's cover also for Tsar, so he can just line him up and look for the flat plate on the side. It's got a pike nose, but with the penetration on the gun that he's using, that's not going to do you much good. So he's up to just under 5,000, finds a Conway looking the other way and puts a shot into him, which brings the Conway down to a 1 shot. Basically backs away out of range. You can see here what he's doing is working angles. He's not trying to expose his tank too much. There could be tanks on the other side of that factory line there, but he's just taking a risk. He knows he's not spotted yet, so it's not going to do too much to him. His platoon mate there in the background is actually down to very low health, so he's probably managing his health as well. And is just over 1 shot here, so it's taking a risk there. Went out against the Conway, snapped the shot in, and basically put him. And there you can just see a shot from the WTF Panzer IV just whistled past him, and he's just lined him up, taxed him for missing that shot. So that's a bit of regret there for the WTF Panzer IV that he didn't manage to connect. Now, taking a risk here in crossing. That WTF Panzer IV has got a pretty big alpha damage potential depending on the gun that he's got mounted. It's a tier 9 tank destroyer, and Tsar's just found him, so he's clearly not looking at Tsar at the moment. He's looking away, puts the shot in, that misses. At least it didn't kill him, so we can't tell whether he hit there or not. We'll see how he's going. Just over 6,500 damage done, so he's actually powering forward in this game. They're now 1 tank up and just ahead on hit points, but they're basically, you can see they've pushed their way down, and they've also done a pretty good job on the open field side. There's a couple of tank destroyers there. In fact, there's basically 3 tank destroyers left on the enemy side, and there's 2 tank destroyers on Tsar's side basically holding that 5-0 space. We'll see what happens if that Scorpion or the Sioux can get him, and the fact that the Sioux 1:30 PM takes out the AMX. So essentially down to 2 tanks now, taking a bit of risk here, pushing forward depending on where the WT is, but he's probably skulking a bit in the background. You can see Tsar's taking just a slight angle here. I don't know if that's deliberate or not, but he's trying to get under the gun as quickly as possible. Hasn't detected being spotted yet, so they are just gone off there. So you can see that that's happened. Now he's just found the top of the WT and taken him out. So he could have put in that second blind shot actually. And we'll see what happens in the final results. So just under 7,000 damage, and he's got a little bit of spotting, so he's just over 7,100 combined. And there's just the Charioteer left, so heading towards last known position, which is about all you can do. You can see that on the minimap. The Charioteer was last seen at H8. Not likely to be there now, given that tanks have been all around that area, so it could be that he's in some way trying to protect the cap area. So anyway, Tsar's heading more directly towards that original area, and just waiting to see whether he gets spotted or not. And his platoon mate is also just starting to move out of position to support him. And there he goes, gets spotted. And let's see whether anything happens out of the spotting. Is he going to get shot at, or is the Charioteer going to keep hiding? Look, took a shot in, yep. But you can see that the Charioteer, being a tier 8, he's not got the big alpha gun on that. So he has only reduced Tsar to 294 hit points, which probably still going to take 2 shots to kill him. So Tsar is just lining up here trying to bait a shot. He can't quite tell whether he's still spotted or not. Got some shots coming in. There he goes. Took 1 extra hot shot from the Charioteer, and the Scorpion rushes in and kills him. And that's the battle. So 7,291. Let's see what he gets in the end. So here we go with the results. An Ace Tanker badge, Steel Wall and Top Gun for the 6 kills. Look, he's done 77.34, so he did get that blind shot in on the WT Panzer IV. He earned 115,000, nearly 116,000 credits, and just under 13,000 EXP, so 25 bonds. So he's finished top in his team, well above the rest of his team. 1661 base experience, which is absolutely a pretty fantastic result. Very high EXP for base experience at that tier. See the IS-6 on the other team actually did pretty well, getting nearly 2,000 damage, so probably less frustrating for him than he probably started off. 27 shots fired. Now that's a real lot for a heavy tank in this tier, but it just really shows that he managed to stay in the game for so long and keep his gun operating. So fantastic result there, and well done. So thanks everyone for watching, and please leave your comments.